But the RIA passed in 2022. It had some language that was, a little bit different than what we had seen before. And it basically said that, you were expected to remain invested for not less than 2 years, uh, period. And so USCIS clarified this language through a policy memorandum in October of 2023 that basically said, look, we're going to interpret this as if your funds go into the project and are used for job creating activities for at least 2 years, you have now met the sustainment period requirements and your funds can be returned to you. And what this essentially did was decouple your sustainment period, meaning how long your funds had to be invested, from the immigration timeline. So investors could now go into different projects and, especially investors from India and China, countries that are always kind of on the lookout for backlogs and retrogressions, and at least know that, okay, our funds are going to be returned to us in a timely manner, even if our immigration process gets delayed because of backlogs, retrogressions, et cetera. I think most notably, IIUSA went on the record and essentially noted that they were not interested in disadvantaging investors who had relied on this guidance from October 2023 in filing their EB5 application, right? And so anyone who had previously filed and in fact will file before any settlement is agreed upon would be grandfathered in, and that minimum investment period of a fixed 2 years would apply to them. So this is kind of the biggest thing and biggest takeaway. It's not finalized yet. We're still expecting the final settlement to come out later this month. But it really, one, gives a lot of investors who have already invested a sigh of relief, knowing that most likely they're going to be grandfathered in and be subject to the rules that they relied upon when they made their investment. But it also opens a small window of opportunity over the next few weeks, really, before the end of March, before a settlement is finally reached, for new investors to come in and take advantage of that same rule and basically, have the full menu of options of short-term projects and longer-term projects and rural and high unemployment and all the other stuff, and really know that, okay, whatever the timeline of my investment is fixed, and not have to worry about redeployment or any of those other um, considerations that they normally have to do.
So that's kind of the main point, is that if you file before a settlement and it actually is reached, you're going to be in a better position in terms of being eligible from an immigration perspective to get your capital back faster, 2 years only. Whereas if you file after, it's possible that it could be as long as 5 years. It could be you have to hold the green card for 2 years. And it's also possible that the exact duration that you need to hold it may still be unclear, right? It could be that the government has to go through rulemaking, and then whatever result of that is, that's what would apply to you.
And essentially, this is something that's been well established through multiple Supreme Court holdings over the years, that Congress has plenary power, meaning basically all the power when it comes to immigration law in the United States. So, anytime the Immigration and Nationality Act, which is ultimately the act that is statutorily written in and controls many aspects of the immigration system as we know it today, to have any updates or changes to that typically would require congressional approval. There are, different kinds of ways that um, he could still try to get it through Congress, and we've kind of seen that here at the bottom with the legislative process. But largely, this would take some time. First of all, right? You don't just wake up one day and have a bill written in front of you and then go vote on it. It's a lot more substantive of a process. And it would also require, some kind of literature or idea of what this gold card program even looks like. And outside of, a couple of press conferences where he's mentioned, two or three facets of it, we haven't seen anything workable or any real written kind of explanation of what the gold card would entail. And so those two things would have to happen kind of simultaneously, right? If he's looking to replace or amend or add to the EB5 program with the gold card program, he would need to show us what the gold card program even is, and we haven't even gotten that any hint of that really from any sources or any news so far.
So the good news is that EB5 is intact for now, and as part of the Reform and Integrity Act law, there are grandfathering provisions that if investors file before the September of 2026, they're treated under the same rules as when they filed. So there's a lot of things in place which make it very hard for Trump to do anything quickly and impact current investors, and even to change this before the end of the RIA. Nothing's impossible, but just procedurally, it will be very challenging for him to do what he said of within a couple of weeks change the EB5 program and implement this new gold card program. But at least to me, stepping back, and you should obviously discuss this with your immigration attorney, there's no better time to invest than today. The program is under law today. Even if it was changed in a couple of weeks under Trump, there is a grandfathering provision. Due to the joint filing from IIUSA and USCIS, it looks very likely that the 2-year sustainment is just 2 years of investment, and that if you invest now, that should be honored. So with all of the potential moving pieces of a change to the sustainment period, pending whatever lawsuit and rulemaking settlement, and if and when there could be any changes based on Trump's announcement of the gold card and Congress taking action, until then, it's a really nice window here where if you're an investor and you're committed to doing EB5, you might as well get the application in now rather than waiting and seeing, because I don't think it's going to be any more favorable than it is today. And even though there is this uncertainty that's been thrown out there, I think that we've moved a little bit further in the initial shock of the Trump announcement and making it further into this lawsuit with the sustainment period to get a good sense of where both of these things are heading, or at least be comfortable enough to move forward today. Yeah, just at the highest level, there is uncertainty still, but we think it's a very attractive time to do EB5, knowing what we have that's currently the law of the land.
Yeah, and Mike, I'll add a caveat to that. We've said it in numerous panels or webinars that we've done in the past. Now more than ever, it is so important to work with a regional center partner that is experienced, that has the runway, that understands the program and kind of what's going on in the background, that understands the ups and downs that this program can undergo, to work with a regional center that has that experience to basically safeguard your investment and your immigration process, right? Working with maybe a one-time, first-time developer who's doing EB5, really just as a, hey, let's just try it out kind of thing, maybe not the best idea in times like this where, there are changes that are upcoming. Working with an experienced regional center that has been around for several years, that has administered this program through its various changes, becomes incredibly important. And just like right in line with that, working with an experienced immigration attorney that is up to date on all the different changes that are upcoming, that can provide up to the minute advice. I mean, we're literally seeing changes on a, sometimes on the day-to-day basis. So having a law firm that has filed hundreds of applications, that is invested in basically their clients and their investors, and giving them the best advice is incredibly important. So, definitely this is a window of opportunity, I think, to continue to file EB5 applications before the program changes. We don't know what those changes will be, but as you do that, definitely don't rush and forget that, it's not just getting an application in to get it in. You also want to do things the right way, work with, attorney and regional center partners that know what they're doing and are on top of all the different changes and can advise you properly.